Good afternoon, welcome back. Here we are again. As Danny just said, it only feels like 5 minutes ago. Apparently it was 15 minutes, but it's all rolled into one. I am Kris, as you know, from all day. I'm back again. I am ably assisted by the tech button monkey, Danny. All right, Danny boy?
Well, no, bored already. I've got no food and there's no offspring here to go and make me stuff.
You've only been up 2 hours and you're bored already. That's quite worrying, isn't it? I'm also joined by regular radio man of the bearded parish, Mr. Welsh. All right, Johnny boy?
You said Melsh then.
I did say Melsh, yeah.
I can't even say my name right. How long have we been doing this?
Mongelsh. There he is.
Hello.
We're also joined by friend of the pod and prize-winning Aaqib. All right, Aaqib?
I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me on.
Always a pleasure, mate. No worries. Sorry about earlier on. We also have the FIFA legend, Colin. How are you doing, Cole?
I wouldn't say I'm a FIFA legend, but other than that, I'm doing all right.
Good stuff, mate. You are whatever we call you is what you are. That's the rules, you know.
Usually applies to me only, though.
Yeah, it does. And last but not least, we're joined by Josh, who is going to be coming on the radio show soon, because I promise I haven't forgotten him. You all right, Josh?
Yeah, I'm all right, thanks, Kris. How you doing?
Good stuff, mate. All gravy, all gravy. Right, so I'm taking over the reins just for now because Gim has gone to pick up Kate. So
I've got a great quote from someone in the chat window already.
Go for it.
Carl Walker. For an
yeah.
Arsenal fan, watching Deadline Day is like watching your girlfriend sleep with another man. A better looking man.
Or watching your girlfriend
Winkle.
sleep with another man's girlfriend. Probably even. Well, actually, no, that would be probably a good thing.
All
Wouldn't
right, Christopher, stop it.
it? Right, moving on. So, can Peter Jack play up front from Bill McGinty? Very good with his head, I hear. Right, okay, so I'm not going to do much talking in this one because people would probably get
You
bored.
wouldn't shut up for the last one.
No, well, I had to let it go, Danny. It was weighing me down.
It was.
Right, let's go straight. Let's start with Aaqib. Aaqib, just give us your thoughts on today. Are you in the losing your shit camp, or are you in the kind of whatever will be camp?
I'm in the whatever will be camp. I honestly think that we do have a decent squad. We can challenge for the title. I do understand why people are upset, but I think that we have a decent squad. We have the strikers. I think just the players just need to step up a bit more. I mean, Aaron Ramsey hasn't had the best start to the season. Giroud hasn't either. But, you know, I think people are upset, but they need to calm down. It's obvious that Wenger has tried. I mean, in my opinion, the players haven't been available. And if the club doesn't want to sell, we're not going to get them. That's a fact. I think we have a decent squad. We can challenge. It's just us supporting the team and getting behind the players.
Yeah, here, and obviously we've been over the player availability thing. I know people have got their own opinions on that, but I'm with you on that one. Colin, what do you make of today? I mean, are you kind of in that sort of stage of the day where you just like to see anyone come in now, or are you kind of resigned to the fact that this is what we've got and that is the way it'll be?
You know what? I've just given up on Arsenal signing a striker. Like, for the last 3 years, and this is when we should have done it, when Van Persie left, right, we should have replaced him there and then, right? And now, I mean, I'm not saying Giroud's bad, like, because he's not, but right now, we just look toothless up front.
Sorry, I thought you were going to go into more than I was getting comfy. I was like, here comes a rant. I agree with you. I agree with you, particularly on the Van Persie thing. But the less said about him, the better. Just give us your take on it. Again, similar question, but kind of on the same lines. I mean, are you in the small camp of people that suggest that maybe we should take a gamble, quote unquote, on somebody now, or again, are you more kind of in the camp maybe that I'm in, where it's like, well, yeah, we've got money, but we don't need to spend it necessarily?
Yeah, I'm a bit confused about really who we should have actually be bringing in, because when you see the team play, Wenger can't even make a substitution, you know, without upsetting the balance of the team. You're trying to find someone else to fit into that's going to bring us something different. And to be honest, I think just consolidating our options wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing, and come back to it in January, especially around a striker.
And are you of the same opinion that I know I'm in the same opinion. I know Drew, who was on previously, is that it's not necessarily the players we should be signing, but it's more about using the players we've already got correctly, i.e. tweaking the tactics a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that's probably the best thing to do. We've got that problem of who we're playing at wing back and then who sits directly in front of them. We're overly reliant on Bellerin now, and I think that should have been addressed potentially more of a right winger. Whether or not we kick Theo back out there, it's to be seen. I'm more annoyed that we haven't got Joel Campbell out. Not necessarily sell him, but somewhere like Bournemouth, Max Gradle's just injured. Be a bit more aggressive in the transfer window and say, look, you need a left-footed left winger. We've got one. Take him. Get him some Premier League experience for him.
And we'll have Callum Wilson in return.
Yeah, absolutely. In a perfect world.
John, what's your thoughts? I know we've talked at length over the past few days and on the radio shows about what's going to happen, what's not going to happen. I think you and I were both in the camp that we thought one would come in. Are you still sticking by your guns with 2 hours to go, or have you kind of decided that this is that?
I think 2 hours ago I said Kevin Doyle was coming, didn't I? I don't know who now. I mean, what, less than 2 hours? I mean, there's not even anyone to fucking gamble on. I'm just disappointed that we haven't, the fact that it's been left this late, and, there is no one, and I do agree that the side is good. I'm not sure whether it can definitely compete, just because the fact that City and Chelsea have gone out and invested since the start of the season now in new players, so that makes it a lot harder. I know Chelsea are in terrible form at the moment, but that can change around very quickly, as can our form. We're still making chances, but I just want someone as a different option to Giroud. I don't have a problem with him being in the squad. Don't have a problem with him playing. There needs to be someone different when he's out of form, and we just haven't got that at the moment. If Welbeck was fit, then maybe, but I'm still not convinced on Welbeck. And I think Mark King actually made a really good point earlier. I'm still trying to catch up with all the pods you've done throughout the day, but he was saying that Wenger has taken a risk before, because he proved it last year when he signed Welbeck. So I don't see why he hasn't taken a punt on someone else, because I think it's worth it taking a punt, because the squad is almost there, and it's the same fucking thing every year, isn't it? The squad is almost there yet again.
One or two
it's just frustrating. So I fully expect everyone to completely lose their shit as soon as 6 o'clock comes around, because we probably won't have signed anyone, and I don't blame them, to be honest, because I'm not particularly happy about it.
Most people have lost their shit already, let's be honest, but you're right.
That's true.
That noise you heard there was the phone call. That was us, and just give me a bell to thank me for my law support, so that's all good. I'm joking, of course. Danny, you've been very outspoken. I think for the first time ever, we had a crossword in the last pod, didn't we? We made up. We kissed, and it was all good. And
I didn't. I called you a tit and told you to shut up next time when I'm talking.
That class is making up in my book. John talked about a gamble. Are you still in that camp of let's gamble on what else is out there?
We shouldn't need to be in the position where we need to take a gamble. Somebody at the club needs sacking, because this happens year after year after year. All the players are out there. I read out a list of all the ones that we were linked with, all the players that we need. Now, if Sanchez gets injured, who's going to play left side? Who can play left side? Not who can fit in there. We don't have another left-sided player now that Santi's legs are the quietest feet in football and now the slowest feet in football. So there's nobody to play out on the left-hand side. So that means we're going to, if he does get injured, we're going to have Ozil wide left, we're going to have Ramsey wide right, and going to have, I don't know, Peter Cech up in the Ozil hole. It's just complete and utter nonsense. Unless he's going to get other Jeff to come in and play. So I don't know what his best position is. I think he's so young, it could be anywhere.
You just stole my thunder then. Thanks for that.
That's all right. Sorry. We shouldn't be in this position every fucking summer. We started it off with brilliantly by buying a world-class goalkeeper who is now a couple of games in, back-to-back clean sheets, played superbly, and we should have built on that and gone and bought 3 or 4 other players, because they've got all of that money, and as usual Wenger treats the money like it's his own pissing money. Maybe he's on a kind of percentage deal, where the more money you don't spend, the bigger percentage of it you get to keep and put under your bloody piss-soaked mattress or whatever he sleeps on. I'm just really annoyed. That yet again we saw last season we lost the title because we got players injured at vital points in the season, and the same thing's going to happen now. He's going, oh well, everyone's all right. We don't need any players. But there again, he's the manager, I'm not, so what do I know?
I want to ask you all a question, just a very short answer from all of you, because I'm just intrigued by your thoughts. Do you blame the manager completely? Do you think there are mitigating factors, i.e. stuff we don't maybe know about, i.e. he's given a list of names and the scouts have not done what they should, or the negotiators have not done what they should? Do you think it's a mixture of both? Aaqib, what do you reckon?
I think it's a mixture of both, to be honest, because obviously Wenger has his targets, but the targets that he has, Benzema, Cavani, all these lot, they're not available, and you can't get them. In my opinion, you just cannot get them.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And do you think that, let's just say a player like Cavani, for example, would you have seen that as a gamble, or would you have seen that as more of a, well, it's a name, so we'll rely on the name factor, or would you say it would have been a gamble, full stop?
I think it would have been a gamble, because he hasn't had the best of seasons since he came to PSG. He's been played out wide. Does he still have that spark to him that he had at Napoli? Does he have that killer instinct that he has while he was at Napoli? I think it was a gamble. He's 28 now, is he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's probably coming into the end of his peak of his career, if you know what I mean. So I think it was a gamble for him, to be honest. I think it was.
Fair enough. Josh, do you apportion the blame specifically to anyone, i.e. the manager, or a combination of both, or do you think it's just one of those things where we just haven't been able to get the right players?
I think if you kind of look around and watch the other leagues, most of the players that we're looking for, a striker, box-to-box midfielder, are either in, the over the hill, they're in their peak probably last season, they're going to drop off this year, or they're one-season wonders, We don't know if Lacazette's going to turn it on again this year, who people were crying out for. Benzema, a year to bed in, he's then 29, 30. Technically over the hill, we don't want to be left with what Man U were with Van Persie, who one good season, yeah, he got them the title, but then you've got him on mega money doing absolute fuck all apart from getting injured.
Yeah. So. Let me ask you that question then, because that spawns a completely different question. There are some people that would say, I'd rather we blow a big wad of money and that gets us a title, and then we lose that player for next to nothing. Would you be in that camp, or I'm guessing from your answer there you wouldn't be. You'd rather that we invest for 3 or 4 years, or at least have a player we can sell on, rather than just basically doing, as you said, the example with Van Persie was perfect.
Yeah, absolutely. We'd need someone for at least 2 years of decent football, in the first team, scoring at least 20, 25 goals a year. And are we going to get that from anyone currently in the market? Probably not. So I think that's when Wenger said last month he wants to take maybe a risk in the transfer market. The risk is not buying anyone, not that he was going to buy an unknown.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. Actually, I've never really thought of it from that way around. So good point. What's your thought? What's your thoughts, Colin, on that? And whether you apportion blame to anyone specifically?
I don't necessarily blame Arsene Wenger. I'm of the opinion now that there's a miscommunication between the board and Arsene Wenger, because we hear Ivan Gazidis talk, we've got this amount of money to spend or this amount of money to spend, and we hear Arsene Wenger talking as if the squad is good enough. So at some point, there's got to be a point where common sense dictates either the manager and the board need to talk things through, or we need a new approach entirely.
And what would that, if you were now in charge of the purse strings, or in charge of transfers, what would your preferred new approach be? Would it be to go out and spend money that is, let's put it in context. Would you like us to be in Manchester United's position, where we just literally went out and threw a lot of money at the wall for a very raw, unproven teenager? Or would you rather that we're in, I don't know, let's say like the Stoke model, where we don't spend massive money, but we do fill our squad with 5 or 6 new players every summer?
I wouldn't do what Man United did. I'll tell you that for nothing, because 36 million for Martial, who essentially had an average season for Monaco, is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, 36 million. If you were talking to me, right, and we spent that exact same amount of money on Alexis Sanchez, right? Is Martial in the same class as Sanchez? Not a chance.
No.
I'm sorry, like, but I wouldn't do a Man United. I would go for Premier League proven, like, because in my opinion, Charlie Austin, and I know this is a bit controversial, but Charlie Austin is too good for the Championship. His talent is being wasted in that league. So if we go for him, possibly we can make up that gap, but I'm 50-50 on that, to be honest.
Sorry,
Yeah.
can I just come in right there?
Yeah, go for it, yeah.
I don't think getting second-tier players is Arsenal's targets anymore, because we've been through this with Chamak, you got Park Ji-young, they're second-tier players.
Yep.
We're not in the market for second-tier players anymore. We want the likes of Benzema, the Ozil, Sanchez, Czech. We look for those types of players that improve the squad, not just for bodies in, because we have bodies. It's just that we need top-class players. We're not in the market for second-tier players anymore.
Yeah.
But Aaqib, here's the thing though, right? Charlie Austin was in the top bracket of Premier League goal scorers last season, and his service at QPR was not good, and they got relegated last season. So you can't say that Charlie Austin is second tier if you get into that bracket of like top 5 goal scorers in the Premier League last season.
Would you say there's an argument, Colin, for him being too similar to Giroud? I mean, I know he is a different type of striker, but would you say there's an argument that he would basically just be, essentially what we've already got?
Well, Giroud scored pretty much the same amount of goals as Charlie Austin did last season, and Giroud was injured for half of that. So if you think about it this way, I'll end on this, right? What I would do is, I'm not saying Giroud is bad by any means, but we need something different. I mean, Charlie Austin looks to be the only half-decent striker available, so why not? You know, having 2 strikers is better than having 1, in my opinion, because Walcott cannot play up front.
No, we definitely agree on that one. John, I want to ask you a loaded question, just because I can pick on you because you're one of my own.
Thanks.
The Aaqib and Colin just brought up a very sort of interesting point that I want to just debate with you here. What is a second-tier player now? I mean, would you, for example, say, okay, we know what the top-tier players are. We know that a Cavani or a Benzema are what we would call top-tier. Whether we agree with that or not, that's what people think. Now, would you say, for example, a Julian Draxler is a second-tier player, or would you say that a second-tier player is a Charlie Austin? I mean, what qualifies a second-tier or a top-tier player nowadays?
Opinion, unfortunately, which is why it's completely subjective. Julian Draxler, yeah, I'd probably qualify him as a second-tier player. I like him; he's a good player, but he hasn't shown amazing performances since he's come back from his injury. Doesn't mean he's not going to, and doesn't mean we shouldn't have taken a punt on him. Yeah, it was probably a gamble worth taking, because he's young enough that even if it didn't work out, you could still sell him on and not lose out. I mean, when it comes to money and finance, I'm not overly bothered anyway, because it's not my money, so I couldn't really give a shit. They can spend whatever they fucking want. I know some people will say, well, that affects the ticket prices. It doesn't. They're still going to fleece you for tickets, no matter how much they spend on players. So, that's a completely separate issue. Charlie Austin, yeah, I wouldn't. It wouldn't be exciting, but it's not someone I wouldn't say no to it necessarily. I think he'd get goals for us, but I do get Aaqib's point that we are looking at the so-called top-tier talent. But I think in that there's a bit of naivety, and I think that does all come from Wenger. Going back to the original question, I think that is all from Wenger, because we're not going to get those players. They're not going to come and join us. They are only going to join if they are essentially booted out the door, and the way that Ozil was basically kicked out to make room at Madrid for when Bale was coming in, and Sanchez for Suarez going into Barcelona. It's the only way we're realistically going to get those players, or if they're coming towards the end of their career, at, say, like Bayern Munich with Schweinsteiger going to Man United. Just to get anyone excited who hasn't seen it in the chat, apparently the Standard are reporting that PSG have made Arsenal aware of Zlatan Ibrahimovic's availability.
Absolute bollocks.
If it's in the Standard, it's got to be true.
Yeah,
I'm sure Gold.com are
just,
writing it as we speak.
Just to upset everyone, which is more than likely is actually true, is that Chelsea have had 2 bids rejected for Marquinhos.
Yeah.
So see, other clubs are still doing business.
It's kind of funny though, isn't it? Chelsea wanted John Stones, and now they've bought Dilavogi. That they're trying to buy Hector, and now they're after Marquinhos. So from one defender, they now suddenly want 3.
Yeah,
Quite sure what that's about, but to each their own.
I personally portion all the blame to Wenger because, well, I suppose part of it's got to go to the board because no one's there is brave enough to go up to him and slap him around the face and say, "Oi, fucking do something." To be honest, because if David Dean was there, he'd either go out and do it himself, or he would give him a slap. You know, I don't think everyone at that club will do whatever he says and say, "Yep, okay, that's the right thing." Kroenke's not going to care because as long as he's getting his money each year, he couldn't give a shit. We've seen that. That's the way he runs his sports teams in America. And Gazidis, I mean, does he really care? I don't know whether he's really actually into football or is he just a businessman? He's there and he's getting paid a nice sum of money, does his job quietly, gets on with it, and that's all he's interested in. So you have to blame the manager because he's the one who has final say, as far as we know anyway, and as far as we've been told, he has final say on absolutely everything at the club. I think he even picked the cutlery for the restaurants at the Emirates and stuff, didn't he? So that's where the blame's got to go ultimately. You know, whether you think it's a lack of transfer activity that's going to cost us challenging for the title, or a lack of tactical flexibility within the squad we've already got, that ultimately all comes back to the manager. I am not a Wenger out and I am not a Wenger in. I am a do your job properly regardless of what your name is because I couldn't give a shit.
A realist, I think is the word.
Did you not think he was changing his way of buying players when we brought in Gabriel, who he admitted he'd never seen play, but bought him purely on stats in January?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said with the Welbeck thing, he's shown he'll take a gamble as well. This is what frustrates me. If he's gone into this summer thinking, right, I'm going to get myself Benzema or Cavani or someone of that ilk, he must be sensible enough to know that Real Madrid aren't going to sell Benzema unless they get a replacement. And Cavani, he's not going to leave PSG unless they have someone of his... I mean, I don't think he's as good as everyone says he is, but of his supposed talent. Because Ibrahimovic is, you know, the wrong side of 30 and most likely going to leave next year. So he must... He's not stupid enough to not realise that those players are going to be extremely difficult to get. So he must say... In that case, then you've got to say, right, okay, these are who I definitely want. If we can't get them, then go for these players. And he's obviously, and we know he likes to leave it late because he thinks you can get more of a bargain and maybe get it cheaper because he's done it in the past. But I think that's stupid because then what that means is players like who, all right, I wouldn't have been happy with at the time if we got, say, like Jackson Martinez or you said earlier, Kris, Carlos Bacca. If we'd signed them early in the summer, I probably would have gone, oh, well, okay, it's okay, I'm not that happy. But if it was now, I'd be like, yeah, I'll take them because there is no one else and we need backup. You know what I mean? And that leaving it late means that all those players are gone and you know they're going to go.
Yeah.
So he's shot himself in the foot, basically, is what I'm saying.
No, I think you make some very, very excellent points there. And Danny, sort of beautifully transitioning to you, we were talking about a Charlie Austin, for example. Is it a mark of where we start? We always start the summer, and you know, Arsenal fans are as bad as any fans I know, where we all get excited at the start of the window. We all say, oh, you know, we brought Czech in early, and everyone was like, yeah, we're going to bring in these players, this player, that player. And now we're sat here on deadline day, and there's people legitimately begging for, no disrespect, but for Charlie Austin. Now, if you'd have said to somebody we're going to go for Charlie Austin in June, they'd have probably caved your head in with a brick. So what, you know, I mean, you like Austin, don't you? So
I do.
What's your views
I
on
like Austin would be my third choice striker behind when if Giroud gets injured, he could do the Giroud job. He wouldn't be able to do the defensive bit and hold up the entire team. I mean, now he'd play with his back to goal and do all of that lot, but he's a decent striker who knows where the goal is. He's not afraid to have a shot, which is what we are. We are far too afraid to have shots far too often. We'll be dilly-dallying it it round the edge of the box, passing it around. You see when he played us, he had about 3 or 4 shots from nowhere. I think, did he score one of them, or one of them nearly went in? That's just, we need players that's up for a fight, and some of our players at the club just seem like they have just lost the will sometimes. But I think we're not going to do too bad as long as we don't get injuries. And if we do get injuries, what are we going to do? Because we've got no backup on the left, and we've got no backup big striker. And then we are going to go, just like we did last season, our season's going to fall apart from 1 or 2 injuries. And we've got no decent athletic backup for Mad Frankie either, because if he gets injured, we are knackered, because he is going to get a suspension. And you saw the way that he is getting so stuck. He is 100% committed to every single tackle, and eventually he's going to end up getting sent off, or he's going to end up getting injured. And when he does, what's going to happen? We're going to have to rely on Arteta, who I think can do the job when he's coming on as a sub, or maybe after he's had a run of a few games and he's got his fitness back. But he's been out for the best part of a season. And Flamini, well, I mean, I do like the Flame, but he can't do the job, can he? He's never going to be as athletic as Mad Frank, and he's never going to be as good a player as he is. He's on the way down as a player. But the only thing he has got is the ability to pick up yellow cards like Mad Frankie does.
I've got a feeling it will be Jack Wilshere that will take that role.
Just to show you desperation, there are people posting pictures of Pato, who's been offered to every club in the Premier League. Every single club has turned them down.
Yeah,
even Spurs. You know,
he's being hoisted around everywhere, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Danny, just want to stick with you for a second and ask you this question, because obviously you have been around actually longer than me, which is saying something. But you're an old school fan from the days, you remember the George Graham era, etc. Is there a danger that once again the fan base will massively turn if this window closes today? Irrespective of whether we sign somebody or not, but particularly if we don't, is there a danger that the fan base or all those people that are already on the manager's back will just be sitting there waiting for somebody to get injured, waiting for us to have a catastrophic defeat? And is that ultimately going to affect the whole team? Because let's not forget, the players have got ears. The support gets affected if the fans are at each other's throats. We saw what happened at West Brom last year with a banner twat. What is there a danger that this goes deeper than just a transfer window?
Well, it depends on if we start losing or not. If we go on a fantastic run and we go up until Christmas undefeated, which is completely possible now that everyone seems to be picking up a bit of form, then they'll be all right, and then we'll be banking on the transfer window in January, doing the same thing again that we do every year, sitting around talking about everything other than the new players that we signed, because we just do it every single time. So without injuries, and with Shad being there, everyone's got to admit that we have had a hell of a lot less injuries.
Absolutely, yeah.
So partly with that, partly the fact we've got a really good team as it is, and our best 11 fully fit could win. If they stayed fit all season, we could have a really good chance of winning the title if they had the confidence, if we didn't keep playing the wrong players in the wrong position. But Wenger's always been famous for that. I mean, Podolski and Arshavin out wide left, Ozil out wide left. He just seems to think just because they're good players, they can play wherever he wants them to play, and it doesn't work. You saw as soon as Ramsey cut in the other day, he was brilliant. He scored a goal. That's what we need in the centre of midfield. We need someone who's going to score goals, because I reckon if you put Ramsey in the Ozil hole, we'd get more goals from Ramsey than with Ozil. May not get as many assists or second assists, but we definitely get more goals. But I'm not one to question the manager, because if I knew anything, I'd be a manager myself.
True, and that would be quite fun. I've got to be honest.
Sacked.
Josh, I want to ask you this question, because Pete Geary has brought this up twice that I remember in the chat box, maybe 3 times, and I want to address it. And Pete simply says, "What about the sponsors?" Now, I think I might be wrong on this, Pete, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what Pete's basically saying there is, we're a big fashionable club in one of the biggest cities in the world. Is there a bit of pressure potentially from the sponsors saying, look, we don't want you to be bringing in a Charlie Austin, a Callum Wilson, whoever? Is there potentially some of the sponsorship saying, no, if you can't get the big names, then we would rather you didn't go for anyone? And obviously the manager makes a decision, but what's your view on whether our sponsorship has anything, if anything, to do with the situation we're in?
Absolutely, but it works in 2 ways. Not only could they say, don't bring in this player, but the other way around. They've always, maybe on a sad one, but go onto Puma's page and look at their athletes.
Yeah.
Marco Reus over in Dortmund, you've got Alexis Sanchez, and you think they've already got a big guy, their poster boy for that country sorted. Puma don't need to shift Marco Reus over, because if they do, they'll pay his wages, they'll give him a little extra bonus, just to bring them over and help their global brand. So I don't know. I think that's probably not an issue with our transfer window.
No.
Probably a bit more. If we said to Puma, we want to bring Royce over, I'm sure they'd happily say yes, and we'll help you out.
And I guess that also extends to, we're not going to get into tickets today, but I guess that extends to the ticket argument. The bigger the names you bring in, the more likely people are going to pay to see the team play. I suppose that would be the other argument. But
yeah, well, we sell out every week almost.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah. And as people have made this point on this podcast many times, I know Raj has made this point, as has Mark on the ticketing, is that unfortunately, however many people refuse season tickets or refuse to pay them, there's another 20, 30, 40,000 ready to snap those tickets up. So you're never really going to see a dent in it unless all of a sudden 60,000 people don't want to go, which will probably never happen. So there's a bit of a vicious circle. We're going to sort of get to the final knockings, last sort of 10 minutes or so. I just want to just touch briefly on some of the other business that's been done throughout the window, and I'll start on a negative and try and bring it to a positive. We'll start on the slightly negative side. Colin, do you think there's any possibility that with us arguably not making a move or stagnating, whatever you want to call it, not pulling the trigger, do you think there's any argument that certain teams have potentially caught us up and will now rival us for those top 3-4 positions in the league, or do you still think ultimately we're too good to be caught by those teams below us?
It's very likely that we could potentially drop out of the top 4, because you look at, I know people go on about, they don't care about who Stoke have signed, they don't care about who Everton have signed. Well, all I would say to that is, look at the amount of money being literally ploughed into the Premier League, right? And when you look at the signings that Stoke have made, right, with that money, there's only a matter of time before Arsenal drop out the top 4 if we're not careful. If we don't sign someone like potentially world class in the next few years, we could potentially drop out the top 4. And to me, if that happens, our business model goes down the drain.
Yeah. It's a worry. I think it's fair to say it's a worry. Aaqib, do you feel that obviously you look at sort of teams that are direct rivals to us? Obviously, you look at what Manchester City have done, what Chelsea have done. Do you feel that, let's say we get to Christmas and we're still in the hunt, do you think that this will just repeat itself again in January and that we'll all be going, oh, we just could do with a couple more to get us over the line? Or do you think that if we do stay up there with Man City and Chelsea, do you think Arsenal will go, well, there you go, told you so, we can stick this out, and then we inevitably don't quite do it again?
I think I want to go with your second point, because obviously he really believes in the squad. He thinks we could win the league, otherwise he would have bought a few players. But if we are still in the hunt after Christmas, we're in a January transfer window, I don't think he will strengthen, and I don't think he will do a massive strengthening in next summer's transfer window either, unless someone leaves, someone big leaves. But you never know. You just never know with Arsenal. We could fall off, which Twitter will go absolutely mental. But we could we could challenge. I mean, our fitness is getting better. We don't have many injuries other than Wilshere and Welbeck, and they're both back after the international break, so we basically have a full squad. But you never know. I think we will be in the hunt for the titles. I think we will at least challenge.
Yeah. I think that's a fair point. And John, to round off your bit on this as well, it's people have forgotten him because he's been injured for so much this season. But we do have a striker by the name of Danny Welbeck, and whether you rate him or you don't, I think Don was saying the other night, this has got to be, particularly if we don't sign anybody, this is a massive season for him, isn't it?
Yeah, I think I'd probably go as far to say as it's make or break for him, because he really needs to do something this year, because we didn't invest a lot in him. I know he's well liked at the club and he gets on with the English players, obviously. He's got all the physical attributes to be exactly what we need, because he's big and strong, good in the air, he's a great athlete, he covers the ground really well, he's very quick, he works hard. If he can sort his finishing out, Arsenal's proved in the past he can obviously develop very good strikers. He's done it before.
Yeah.
I think the caveat I put on that is that they were players who had the natural ability already. I don't know whether Welbeck has that. I'm not convinced. Is he going to be a bit like Theo Walcott in that he's got the athletic ability, if not the football ability?
Football brain, yeah.
Yeah. I think he's got the brain. I don't think he suffers from the same thing. To be honest, I think Theo Walcott is one of the stupidest footballers I've ever seen on the pitch. I just think he hasn't got a fucking brain at all. But
one-dimensional.
Yeah, I think he's got. It's whether he's got the technique to do it. I hope he has, because I really like him, and he does give a lot to the team. It's whether he gets the chance. I think if he was fit now, I would rather see him through the middle than Walcott. That's for sure.
Oh, gotcha.
But it's really difficult to see who else plays if Giroud isn't fit. It's got to be him. And then if it's not Welbeck, are we sticking Sanchez up front when he's not really a striker? Are we putting Walcott back in there? I don't see where we're going to go with it.
No, it's a tough one. And the final question to you, Danny: are you delighted that it appears Joel Campbell will be staying?
I'd like to see him given a chance. I mean, what's his best position? Is it in the 10? Is it as the striker? Is it playing off a striker? Is it either the wing? I mean, does anyone know for certain what's his best position?
It was supposed to be a joke, but now we're going seriously. Left side of the attacking three, I think, is where. Although for Costa Rica, he does play as a 9. So
is he left or right-footed?
Left-footed, I believe.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go and have a look at Transfer Market because they give you a breakdown on every single player, and so you think he's definitely staying?
Well, it would appear so, because I got told he was going to Rennes last night, and that appears to have not happened. So, unless there's something done late with an English club,
I can't even find him in our bloody squad.
He's not going to drop down. He's not going to drop down to Championship level, is he? And how many Premier League clubs need a left-sided player other than Bournemouth that we mentioned?
We do.
Sorry to come in. This is the thing that really annoys me. I think Josh was sort of mentioning it. I don't know if he was as angry as I am, but the fact that Joel Campbell is still at the club is fucking ridiculous. He was clearly not at all in the manager's plans. They wanted rid of him. And, then he's on the bench at the weekend because apparently we have no one else to put on there. And now he's staying at the club because we haven't signed anyone and we might have to play him because we're short of players. I mean, I'm sorry, that is fucking embarrassing. That is ridiculous.
Well, I'm just looking at Transfer Market and he says he's left-footed. His main position is right wing, but his other two positions is as a centre forward and a left wing. Well, if he's left-footed and can play left wing, then maybe that's why they're keeping him as a backup to Sanchez. But I think he's still here because the club were talking about 6-7 million quid, weren't they? Yeah. He's not worth that. We should ask for about 2 or 3 million if we want to get rid of him. He's no doubt not on very high wages, so if he hasn't got a point in the club, get rid of him. So maybe if he's going to keep him.
We don't know if the players turn down a move. I mean, look at Adebayor. He hasn't even got Aaron Lennon. They haven't even got squad numbers, and they can't get rid of him because they don't want to take offers that they've been offered. So there's no guarantee that the players just said, well, I don't want to move. And you can't force a player to leave. But what I would say, and I do agree with John on this to a degree, how the fuck does a player feel? How would Joel Campbell feel now if we said to him, right, next week we've got injuries, we need you to start and lead the line? I mean, how must his confidence be? He must be sat there thinking, well, hang on a minute, am I here? Am I not here? You loan me out for 2 years, then you bring me back, then you tell me that you want to give me a chance and I don't play. Then I got shout at by an orc in Stoke. I mean,
we've been going 41 minutes. Need to wrap this up so I can go and have a lay down.
For all of 10 minutes, when you're back again. Okay, I'll ask you all a one-word answer then, and we'll wrap this beauty up. We'll start with you, Danny. Are we signing anyone, yes or no?
No.
Okay, John?
Kris Kawomya.
Oh, living the dream. Josh?
No, definitely not.
Okay, Aaqib?
No, not for me.
And Colin?
Not a chance in hell.
Oh, full house. Bingo. Well, there we go.
That's also Kris Kawomya.
Oh, okay, yeah, sorry. Other than Kris Kawomya. Well, we shall be back in about 20 minutes. I think Mr. Gimli should be back. I think I'm right in saying.
Yeah, him and Kate are back.
Him and Kate are back. Superb. Right, so we'll be back with Gimli at 5 o'clock. Sorry, not 6 o'clock. We will speak to you all then. For all the 149 of you listening, that you've obviously got nothing better to do with your lives. Thank you very, very much. We do appreciate it. And we'll speak to you where we'll rinse and repeat what we've just said in another hour's time. So
don't forget forget, 6 o'clock, it's Raj versus Jeff, and with a little bit of Welsh justice chucked in. So that is going to be a slobber knocker, because I think Kris is going to get an earful from them lot too.
Oh, I'll give as good as I get. Don't you worry about that.
It's going to be mental.
Right, well, we'll speak to you all. Thank you to the guys for coming on. Thank you to Colin, Josh, and Aaqib. Thank you to John. Thank you to Danny, and we'll speak to you in a bit.
See you later.
Ciao.
Bye.
See you later.